persuasively performed play for whose re-entrance one impatiently awaits. However, in actual life such a character might seem to engross conversation, quench reciprocity, and blanket less voluble people. In the book, his role is nothing of the kind. At first, we only hear the doctor talking. We do not understand why he talks. Gradually, one comes to see that together with his egotism and swagger, Dr. Matthew Mighty Grain of Salt Dante O'Connor, he has also a desperate disinterestedness and a deep humility. His humility does not often appear so centrally as in the prodigious scene in the empty church, but it is what throughout gives him helpless power among the helpless. His monologues, brilliant and witty in themselves as they are not dictated by an indifference to other human beings, but on the contrary, by a hypersensitive awareness of them. When Nora comes to visit him in the night, watchman, what of the night, he perceives at once that the only thing he can do for her, he was extremely put out, having expected someone else, the only way to save the situation is to talk torrentially, even though she hardly takes in anything he says, but reverts again and again to her obsession. It is his revulsion against the strain of squeezing himself dry for other people and getting no sustenance in return that sends him raving at the end. The people in my life who have made my life miserable, coming to me to learn of degradation and the night. But most of the time he is talking to drown the still small wailing and whining of humanity, to make more supportable its shame and less ignoble its misery. Indeed, such a character as Dr. O'Connor could not be real alone in a gallery of dummies. Such a character needs other real, if less conscious people in order to realize his own reality. I cannot think of any character in the book who has not gone on living in my mind. Felix and his child are oppressively real. Sometimes in a phrase the characters spring to life so suddenly that one is taken aback, as if one had touched a waxwork figure and discovered that it was a live policeman. The doctor says to Nora, "I was doing well enough until you kicked my stone over, and out I came, all moss and eyes." Robin Vote, the most puzzling of all because we find her quite real without quite understanding the means by which the author has made her so, is the vision of an eland coming down an aisle of trees, chapleted with orange blossoms and bridal veil, a hoof raised in the economy of fear, and later she has temples like those of young beasts cutting horns, as if they were sleeping eyes. Sometimes also a situation, which we had already comprehended loosely, is concentrated into a horror of intensity by a phrase, as when Nora suddenly thinks on seeing the doctor in bed, "God, children know something they can't tell. They like Red Riding Hood and the wolf in bed." The book is not simply a collection of individual portraits. The characters are all knotted together, as people are in real life, by what we may call chance or destiny, rather than by deliberate choice of each other's company. It is the whole pattern that they form, rather than any individual constituent, that is the focus of interest. We come to know them through their effect on each other, and by what they say to each other about the others. And finally, it ought to be superfluous to observe, but perhaps to anyone listening to the book for the first time it is not superfluous, that the book is not a psychopathic study. The miseries that people suffer through their particular abnormalities of temperament are visible on the surface. The deeper design is that of the human misery and bondage which is universal. In normal lives, this misery is mostly concealed, often, what is most wretched of all, concealed from the sufferer more effectively than from the observer. The sick man does not know what is wrong with him. He partly wants to know, and mostly wants to conceal the knowledge from himself. In the Puritan morality that I remember, it was tacitly assumed that if one was thrifty, enterprising, intelligent, practical and prudent in not violating social conventions, one ought to have a happy and successful life. Failure was due to some weakness or perversity.